Yeah, we're ready. Yep. Oh, I need. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the June Real Estate Appraiser Advisory Board. If anyone has any kind of questions, feel free to jump in on the chat. I can't remember if we do intros at every meeting, but we can do intros again just because it's been a month. So I'm Dave Turner. I'm the AMC representative to the board, and welcome.
Adam Schmidt, certified general representative to the board.
Sarah Payne, Assistant Commissioner for Enforcement.
Lisa Ching, I'm the admin for enforcement team.
Oh, there's no video feed of us.
And Jamie, can you, oh, there we go. Jamie, can you hear us? It says you're unmuted.
Can't hear
We
you.
still can't hear you.
I could hear you.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Okay, so it's just us.
We got you now. Wait.
I think that was Peter saying he could hear Jamie.
That
That
was Tom Hack saying that I can hear you
Tom.
guys.
Tom can hear us, but we can't hear Jamie.
Mm-mm.
No.
We can hear Tom, so it's not from our end.
Right.
Can you, how about now? Can you hear? There we go. Does that work?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay. Jamie, quick intro.
Still working on it.
Had it, lost it.
Can't hear you now, Jay.
No.
We lost you again, Jamie.
Does that, can you hear me now? Does that work?
Now we can.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
Okay, Jamie's here.
Here,
And we have
present.
enough. Thank you. And we have enough for a quorum. I know we're not joined by Ezekiel and Patrick. So thank you and welcome. And everyone should have received the agenda, accompanying materials and minutes from Nissan around May 22nd. And so with that, if you had a chance to review the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Sarah, second by Adam. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Great, minutes have been approved. Thank you. On to the Commerce Department reports.
All right.
Good.
Good.
No, go ahead. No.
We're dealing with the sound. Okay, I think we're good. Good morning, everybody. We have the continuing education report, and I think for the first time, maybe ever, we did have one course we couldn't approve, and the reasoning is right there in the memo. Any questions on that?
Pulling up again. Oh. No questions from me?
No.
Okay. Sounds good. Pete, do you want to just jump into licensing as well? Then we can cover enforcement next.
Yeah, why don't I do that? So I'll start with the statistics on active licenses. We've had a bit of an uptick since the last meeting, which is both good and also standard. We're still sitting, about where we've been, a little bit on the downside from past years, as you've seen. And AMCs too are down maybe about 10%. Maybe that's due to some consolidation in the industry. It's also, we have had a couple that have gone from state regulated to federally regulated. The federally regulated ones are not included in our totals. So the industry is maybe changing a little bit there, but we're still, still have almost 100 of them. Exam statistics for the first quarter, they are what they are. As you've seen with the comparison to the national rate and past years, we're pretty standard. We, in 24 and 25 stayed pretty, overall, pretty close, just under 50% pass rate. That's less than the national pass rate, but that's been our usual position relative to the national pass rate. We don't create the exams, so Minnesota people are taking the exact same test that everyone is everywhere else. So don't really know what to say about that other than we'll keep monitoring it and see where things go. Before I go to the demographics, anything on exams?
Nothing from me, only that, right, the percentages, the sample size is such that the percentages are what they are. So when national rates are looked at with hundreds of people taking versus whatever, 19,
Right.
it's difficult to really do a solid comparison, but the information is super helpful. Any questions from the group?
Appreciate you putting that together. It's interesting. Would agree with you. Yeah, interesting statistics.
Yep, and helpful to see as the appraisal qualifications board is evaluating changes to licensure and the criteria, and so this is good context to have as the state continues to be involved with those discussions. So, yep.
Sure. One last little piece of information. I did hear recently that Korea graduates are their pass rate is 100% on the exams.
Yep, I've heard the same.
Okay, well, demographics. I was interested in showing what the board has asked for, and we were able to get the information from our vendor and analyze it a little bit. So the average age of an appraiser in Minnesota is 54 and a half years old. That is just over the median age range nationally. And as we have been seeing nationally, we're seeing in Minnesota, I think we replenish as people retire, new people come in, although maybe at a little bit of a lower rate. I was happy to see that not only do we have, we have 4% of the people are starting between 20 and 29. We still have appraisers, 10%, working, well into their 70s and 80s. But our median is right there, between 50 and 69. We have about half of our appraisers in that age range, which does mean that there will likely be over the next 10 or 15 years a number of retirements. So we will probably want to revisit this in a year or two and keep watch on the trend and see if we are in fact replenishing at the rate that the national average is showing. And then the board had asked as well that we see whether our test vendor asked for any specific demographic information when people register for exams. And in fact, no, we do not collect what their previous education or experience or the like was when people registered to take an appraiser exam. I think that's all I've got for you today.
Do you have any historical data on that average age, say going back 5 or 10 years, like how quickly has that gone up, I guess is kind of the question there.
That is a great question, but unfortunately we don't have any historical data. The Pulse system didn't have a great way to run a query on this, so I had to go to the vendor and have them construct the SQL and pull the numbers for me, and then I had to sort of manually go through and sort them into the age ranges and things like that. So sorry we don't have that, but now we have a baseline in the year 2026 and future
Yeah.
boards and people can start with this.
And I just want to make sure that this is current licensees who will have I think they probably have to, who provide their birthday in the Pulse licensing system. So this is unrelated to exam taking. This is just current licensees managed through our current system.
Yes.
Okay. And our current system, as I recall, is unique to Minnesota. A lot of other states do not use the Pulse system. Is that your understanding as well?
No other states use the Pulse system
Oh, so we're unique.
for appraiser licensing.
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, I was trying to see how it could be extrapolated out.
Yeah.
Okay, so in theory, this could then be pulled at the same time every year. In theory.
Yeah.
As long as you keep using the same system, I suppose that's probably one of the. Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
be using the same vendor. We are in the process of moving the data
Right.
from the Pulse system into the Circon system, but that'll be over the next several months.
And you had said that the average age, the 54.5, that is slightly higher than the national. Remind me, where did we get the national number from?
I saw it in just a couple days ago. Had a report forwarded from a member of the Aero board
Okay.
or some that had information from the Appraisal Foundation.
I think it was the foundation that had published some of that info. I just don't remember where they got it from and whether it was from like Bureau of Labor Statistics, which encompasses kind of a variety of labor in this area, or if it's specific to appraisers. Like this is great data and very, very precise, right? Because it's specific to only appraiser credentials, which is great. And I don't know if other states collect similar information, but it may be a question. I know Aaron Dixon's on. It may be a question for us to ask Aero to see if other states have the ability to collect this type of precise demographic data. It'd be very valuable to try to get a real good handle on, Peter, exactly what you're describing, which is, I think the takeaway is I'm actually surprised there's actually current licensees that are more younger than I thought in the aggregate percentage, but it's outweighed on the flip side, on the other side of that bell curve of the 60 to 69 and 70 to 79. So that is definitely worth keeping an eye on, and we'll see how that adjusts. But if you have the ability to obtain this information, I would suspect it should be equally attainable from other states and give a broader idea of kind of where the industry sits. So
Follow up for the department for us to look into that and see if we can bring back that additional data for our next meeting. Thank you.
Do you happen to remember what that national rate you saw was? You said just over.
Yeah. Actually, if you let me vamp for just a second here, I'm going to open up the report, and I remember the word age came up twice in it. So.
Okay, as chair, I will allow it. Thank you, Peter, for your request. No, yeah, take your time. We can just move on maybe to the enforcement section, and then we can, jump in the chat or raise your hand, whatever. We can go back to it.
You got it. Sounds good.
Thanks so much. Yeah, really appreciate the follow-up on these data points. It's going to be very, very useful. Okay, enforcement update.
Yeah, so between February 1st and April 30th, the department entered into consent orders with 3 settlement appraisers, John Hadrith, Ann Nassett, and Dominic Tallarico. Those consent orders should all be in our card system online. And I know we've had a couple of since then as well, so we'll have more to report at the next board meeting.
Okay. And just do do you recall from these consent orders any particular trend or particular take? When I looked at them, I don't know if I saw anything kind of super glaring, but it's more of not following some of the analysis expectations.
Yeah. We can go back and look for some trends and see if there's anything over the last, at our next board meeting, we should have data for the entire first half of 2026, and we can just see if there's anything that stands out as ways that the board or others would be interested in knowing if there's one particular, use PAP that keeps being an issue in reports where there's violations or different things.
File is one that keeps showing up.
We've seen that across a lot of states. I'll give you so yeah, and I didn't mean to like put you on the spot. If there's anything that the department sees, it's great to share. Otherwise, we kind of assume that there probably isn't anything glaring.
Yeah.
One reason that I'm just calling it out for the department's kind of perspective is with UAD 3.6 coming out in November, there are certain areas that may really help to drive down findings. So for example, I think, again, I'm not an appraiser, so Adam and Jamie can shake their head that I'm correct. For example, the 3.6 format requires the appraiser to explain highest and best use and provide more detail around it. So it kind of forces the appraiser to check that box and cover that area where now they cover it, but kind of not as substantively as we may expect them to, as the department may expect them to, and that can sometimes lead to findings, kind of like work file. Work file is a little bit discretionary, so unfortunately, appraisers, some do more, some do less. It just kind of shakes out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see after that's been in effect for a little while, if there is a change in the complaints that we receive and the actions that we take. So it'll be really interesting to look at that data trend in the future.
And it's required November 2nd. So I'm not aware of any delay, lag, grace period, whatever. So
There was one of the consent orders, I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time I saw there was a license suspension. I think it was for 14 days in there as part of the agreement. And this is probably putting me on the spot a little bit again, but what part of a complaint gives rise to a suspension, and a short-term suspension like that? Like, what are you trying to get across with that type of enforcement?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think there are a variety of factors that go into consideration when determining what the appropriate sanction is going to be. So there's an array of sanctions that generally happen within a consent order. It could be a suspension, it could be a censure, it could be a fine, it could be continuing education, it could be more supervision, it could be a variety of things, right? So I think one of the most important things that we look at is what was the harm to consumers and to the industry, and what is going to be the best way to deter future conduct and to sort of remedy the situation. So one of the things that I think our enforcement team does a really good job of is looking to see when an issue or a violation seems to be the result of lack of education and training, and trying to find continuing education courses that match up and will remedy that issue. And so that's something that's usually included in most consent orders. Sometimes if it's repeated behavior, if it's egregious, if it's, we look to see, are there aggregating factors, are there mitigating factors and things like that. So if something is on the more severe side, there'd be a suspension. So that could be, again, it could be repeat violations. It could be the severity of the violation. It could be the amount of harm that was done to folks. Sometimes it's just sort of, again, trying to look at the situation and see what's the best way to make sure future harm doesn't occur and that we're remedying the situation. So off the top of my head, I don't remember the suspension all the facts in the suspension case. We probably couldn't say too much about it because of the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act, but hopefully that's
Yeah.
helpful in figuring out kind of how we look at these things.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good explanation. Maybe another question along those lines. Just kind of going off memory here a little bit, but seems like maybe several quarters ago last year, we saw more consent orders that had, and I'm probably using the wrong terminology here, but a portion of the fine forgiven as long as it doesn't happen again type thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been a bit in any of the consent orders since we've seen that, sort of language included. And so maybe that sort of goes to the same thing that you're just discussing is, where we'd see maybe a $4,000 fine, they have to pay 500 and the rest is stayed. There you go.
For a period of time, making
Yes.
sure there's no
Yes.
additional violations. That's something that also definitely gets considered when we're looking at things. And again, there's a variety of things that could play into whether that seems appropriate, whether that's going to be the part of the most appropriate sanction or not. And then, the one thing I forgot to mention earlier too is looking when we're looking at each case, in addition to looking at all the facts and circumstance of that particular investigation, also looking at how have similar violations in the past been treated and are people being treated consistently? And if there's deviations, why, and are there factors that would support a deviation for that? So it's really trying to find that balance.
Case type basis and
Yeah.
Okay.
The way that I think of it is that the allegations, they almost look the same regardless of severity. So like if someone failed to perform appropriate analysis, it will never say they really, really failed.
Yeah.
It just says they failed to perform the analysis. And then kind of the severity is almost driven by, you can see the fine when it's 3,000 instead of 500.
Yeah.
When it's a suspension instead of
Yeah.
nothing. I was like, to me, my reading was, oh, okay, something was going on here.
Yeah.
That's more egregious. And there are always mitigating, factors and things like that. That's kind of that was my general read.
It's a good way to describe it too, right? Because the violations in statute are, and in use are what they are, but the facts of each case is going to say, to your point, like, oh, I was super diligent. I made one mistake. No one was harmed. Like, we're not going to suspend your license for that, right? Versus was something, what was the intention? What was how many times did it happen? What was the result of that violation? So, yep, exactly.
Okay. Any other questions on enforcement update? Okay, very good. Thank you. And just for the record, thank you, Peter. Peter did share in the chat the resource that included information regarding appraiser credential demographics. And so it talks about the median. Again, so this is what I think I saw the same thing. So this is from Bureau of Labor Statistics regarding kind of the group within which appraiser credentials would sit. And turns out everything stayed flat. The good news is we'll know if Minnesota's data is consistent with that conclusion or not when we look at it a year from now. But
Interesting findings though. 4% employment growth, and I don't know if that's tied specifically to licensed appraisers, but the statistics in Minnesota would not suggest that.
That's correct. I would agree.
And the 73% report no changes in fees over 15 years. That's kind of interesting. But on the residential side, that's probably true.
If you don't count 2020, 2023, when they were actually quite higher.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you're looking at it. Okay. I think that covers Commerce Department reports. Any other additions, changes, questions? Okay. We will move on with the legislative update. Is Sam here to take the one or not?
Lucy say. Oh,
Okay, Sam's not. I know that I know that some legislation passed. I believe legislation regarding the department's voluntary consideration of the disciplinary action matrix.
Yes,
I think that was the only.
that was passed. So,
Yeah.
yep, that'll be effective August 1st. So we'll implement that, and then
Can you just reshare maybe and I'm sorry again to put you on the spot, sir. Do you have the bill number or the?
I am just looking it up.
No problem. No problem.
And then I believe we also had a technical proposal as well that passed as well. That was just making us a little bit more consistent across the board. Okay, where's my attachments here?
Try to pull it up. The bill for, I can find, I'll pull up the matrix one because I found that one. Okay, let me read off the 2400 one. That one I have. I just need the text. Okay, so the bill was House File 2400. Sarah mentioned goes into effect in August. It adds, I believe, a new section, like a subsection to the appraiser law called disciplinary sanction matrix. And it says, when establishing a sanction for an appraiser, the commissioner may consider the current version of the voluntary disciplinary action matrix published by the Appraisal Foundation as non-binding guidance. The commissioner retains discretion to determine the appropriate sanction based on the specific facts of each case, regardless of the suggestions contained within the matrix. So the good news is now the department has like statutory permission to use it, should they so choose, but it remains discretionary and, subject to internal policies and disciplinary decisioning under department policy.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we're 2 months out yet from that being effective. Have you guys had discussions on how that might alter how you do business?
So we've been talking we've had conversations all along when it was first introduced, and frankly, before it was introduced this year, since it's been introduced a number of times, right? And what that looks like and how it relates to our enforcement actions in general. Because the voluntary matrix is so similar to what we already do, I don't think there's going to be much of a change to our to the way that we look at things. We will, have more conversations as we get closer to the August 1st, and like with each of the enforcement actions that come up when we're looking at what allegations and consent order and everything will go into each of those considerations for each of the cases as we look by it. But because it is so similar to the way we operate right now, it really won't change much in terms of what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So it's a very easy one for us to implement, fortunately.
well, the other one, and this is probably the secret, is, and I really putting you on the spot today a lot. I'm not sure we would ever be told or otherwise know if the department did use it or not in a disciplinary matter for which the published document won't ever say that it was used. It may come up if someone challenges the discipline and whether it's appropriate, like things escalate. But we will never, unlike these consent orders, we're never going to see whether it was used or not. I'm guessing the department can't tell us
Right.
anyway.
Well, I think that's accurate. I don't know that people will be able to tell anything off of the face of the document. Under Minnesota statutes 1339, the way investigative data is classified, so much of it is not public that, we don't get to share all of the underlying facts, the complainant names, the witnesses' names, how we weighted certain, mitigating or aggravating factors. So that will continue to be the same both after August 1st and before August 1st. I mean, it's possible if somebody wants to do a data practices request after the file is closed, there's more data that then becomes public once an investigative file is inactive. So someone could go through the file. I just, off the top of my head, I don't know if that would be part of the public data.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's helpful. Good to know how kind of we'll see it in real practice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if, appraisers, in their defense of a complaint or an action, try to reference or argue maybe where they felt commerce has deviated from the matrix or not, and if that just kind of changes that argument at all or not.
Yeah, I mean, we almost always respondents have questions about, or, don't always agree with the proposed sanction or discipline that we would, that we think is appropriate. And so that would give them one more thing to cite to if they think they fall somewhere else within the matrix. But I don't think it would necessarily change any outcome. I mean, I guess it's possible someone could go
At the end of the day,
argue it before the office or the Court of Administrative Hearings, but
They'd use it anyway.
yeah.
They probably would have used it before the statute anyway, as any type of.
Yeah, no one's ever, to my knowledge, we've never had that argued to us that someone said, well, that wouldn't be the way, it would be under the VDAM.
yeah,
So I don't know if they would do it in the future, but
yeah,
there will be a lot of different things to watch over the next year as different things go into effect.
yeah.
And then after a period of time when we have some data to compare it to see how or if things have changed, during this next year or two as
Yeah.
different things go into effect.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can't find the other bill, but I do believe it was like very technical. So I
Yeah,
don't think it was like substantive to the group. And on this one, Adam, I don't know to what extent, AI or other groups are alerting licensees to the change just so that they're aware that may be a good idea, but it hasn't come up. I know that AI had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, I think early May, but I don't know if the bill had passed by then. So I'm not sure to what extent it's been
Yeah.
communicated.
I don't either. Yeah.
Okay.
Nita, can you make a note for me, please, to connect with Sam in the next week or two? And we'll see if we can just, as a follow-up to this meeting, send out like a summary.
That'd be
The
great.
summary that he would have presented here to talk about,
Yep.
just brief summary, what was passed and like things to keep your eye on. And then people will have something a little bit more concrete to
Yeah.
track.
Yeah.
And then if folks want to share that with others, then certainly feel free to do that.
I mean, is that the type of message that would be sent from Commerce to all active licensees?
So, yeah, we could do that too. If you would
So
like,
new
yeah,
legislation that affects licensed real estate appraisers
Yeah.
to be aware of.
yeah, just do a little letter to the industry. Here's
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
here's a few things that were implemented. Keep your eye on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Good call out.
Was there, and this is showing my lack of knowledge of what happened at the legislative session, but I mean, there was some conversation about the property data collection and licensing there. None of that, was that brought forward? Are you aware? It wasn't
Nothing
brought.
was ever introduced.
Okay, so this was the VDAM was the only bill
Yes.
introduced and
Uh,
appraisal related.
They're
Non-commerce bill, yeah.
talking about technical one. Yeah, non-commerce proposed, actually. That's a good way.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no, I know that there was discussions of it, that things were potentially being drafted. Nothing ever was proposed.
Okay,
And just to cover it while we're at it, no property data collection licensing bill passed in the entire country.
okay.
So
There was others that were brought.
there were a few proposed, yep, but they all did not pass.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, that covers the legislative update. Thank you for that.
Well, let me ask one question.
Yeah, of course.
Was there anything commerce related that was brought forth? I mean, I don't think we heard anything there. Okay, not really the VDAM ones.
Okay, yeah, I think there was that technical clarification, but now I couldn't find it, so I'm not sure anything was.
I'll double check.
With Sam, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like substantive to license practice or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on legislative updates? Okay.
Sorry, can I,
Yeah.
after you close the topic?
Yeah,
I know it seems really early to be bringing this up because we literally just finished legislative session and some of us are still in recovery. But the department is within the next month going to start looking at proposals for next session because department proposals have to go through a big process, right, before we can introduce things. So we will be we are currently thinking about things in initial stages that we would want to propose for next year. And we do need to try to have most of our proposals that we want to pitch as like a commerce package, sort of ideas, but not language, solidified by the end of the summer. So if there are things that people would like the department to be thinking about or suggestions that you have, now is actually a really great time to do that and to let us know, even though it feels very early.
yeah, and I guess the reverse too, if there's any discussions the department's having on appraiser AMC issues and they'd like our feedback,
Yeah.
maybe we can fit the next meeting to kind of sync with that process. And I say this knowing that there's an election.
And
And the whole thing's who knows what's gonna happen with it now, so.
Yeah.
But yes, the process shouldn't change, right? You still have to keep,
Mhm.
everyone
Yeah.
still needs to be reviewing these items, so.
Is there anything top of mind for commerce that's being kicked around right now?
No,
Okay,
we don't have anything, but
okay.
we've just had a couple of I've had a few conversations with all of the managers and supervisors in the enforcement division about, no, at this point, no idea is a bad one. If you have an idea, let's just start trying to generate those ideas. And then we'll work through them. But as of right now, there has not been any suggestions for an appraisal.
They're in recovery yet.
That's too soon.
Try to give them another week before we.
Fair enough.
No, thanks for bringing that up. That's a really good point and a good reminder, right? Every year, kind of, it's the same kind of
Mhm.
resetting and thinking about what's out there to cover. So good.
Yeah.
Good discussion. Okay, new business. I had one because I was at the Aero conference in April. So happy to provide a short update on that. Erin Dixon was also there, so I don't want to call her out. She's probably not paying attention. Just
Oh,
kidding.
she's always paying
Just
attention.
kidding. Erin's definitely paying attention. But if any other new business other than that, I can certainly, we've provided, I think, a few other updates quarterly, kind of what's TAF been working on, what are the GSEs been working on. So I can certainly cover that or try to as well. Other than those three items, any other, just to know if anything else we'd want to cover under new business.
Nothing from me beyond that.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to kind of start things off. So for TAF, I know that there's a couple of reports that have come out. So one has been kind of a workforce analysis document from the Appraisal Qualifications Board. They continue to evaluate other professions, looking at the interplay between testing and experience as part of a credentialing program. So they've been looking at other professions. They're doing a lot of research, trying to understand what direction they want to go. They are still trying to discuss PAREA and alternative pathways. There's also a state harmonization task force, which is a group that is meeting with states to try to understand their requirements and how they may deviate from the minimum requirements, which we don't have that problem because we meet the minimum. So they have not, I don't believe they've called us to chat, but they have with other states. There is a joint meeting later this month between TAFAC, which is the group of nonprofit advocacy participants, Industry Advisory Council, which is the kind of for-profit business participants. And then I think there's another group, I forgot the acronym and what it stands for, but it's other stakeholders in the valuation kind of ecosystem. And that's used to kind of then share information and discuss solutions as the foundation continues to evaluate the qualification, requirements. On the standard side, I believe there was a most recently proposed revision draft to the artificial intelligence advisory opinion. I think it's AO 41. And I believe it's still in process to obtain comments, but that's still being worked on, obviously very important in today's world. So I'll stop there. I'm sure there'll be more to come by the time we meet next. So that's the TAP update, very high level. GSC update, there's been a few updates on kind of clarifications on practices. Otherwise, it's UAD 3.6 is happening. More software providers have been approved. The GSCs have to actually approve providers to be 3.6 compliant, where appraisers can go to that software provider and use them to process and complete a 3.6 appraisal. The due date has not changed. It's happening. I know just from my seat as an appraisal management company, more and more lenders are starting to discuss it. Some lenders are further along than others. It's very complex because you actually have to reconfigure many of the kind of back-end pipes that connect all of this stuff to really make it work and leverage its usefulness. So we're about to hit kind of a real intense period of lenders beginning that transition. I know there's a lot of appraiser education that's going out there. And honestly, right, the best education is doing these assignments. So more and more appraisers are starting to complete them, ask questions, go through the revision process to understand what tweaks need to be made. So, by the time we meet next, things will be very close to being in kind of full swing.
Great.
Yeah. And then we'll see how it goes. What happens after that?
So a question for you, Dave, maybe Jamie too. I think probably the last time we met, the software providers weren't in a spot where appraisers could actually complete a report. Sounds like we're there now.
Jamie, defer to you as well. I know for sure there's a couple that are approved for sure.
Yeah. So there's some that are approved. From what I understand, there's a lot more that are really close to being approved, but aren't quite. So, what I've kind of read and been seeing is that it's still coming. The deadline's still the same to start using the UAD 3.6. Some of the software providers are still finishing up and getting approval. I know like one of the ones that I was looking at, it's called Nighthawk from ClickForms Bradford. But I think their deadline to have an update was just a couple of days ago. But I haven't heard anything whether they're ready to go or not. And from my own personal experience, it's like there have been a lot of online training classes and online different webinars and such that you could go through to learn about these, but they're all a little bit different because they're all through the different software providers. So I think from an appraisal standpoint, it's just trying to go through the weeds a little bit and see which one is ultimately going to fit you and your practice the best. Because I think there's definitely different options out there right now. There's different costs associated with them, whether it's a per month cost or like a per report cost even. I think some of them are doing. So there's just a lot going on with the software right now, I feel like.
So you have not completed one. Have you completed a 3.6 assignment?
I haven't completed a 3.6 assignment yet. No, I've just been looking at the different software providers, trying to figure out which ones make sense, which ones don't. It's like all the webinars and stuff that I've seen, they're all in reference to their specific software. So it's kind of hard to decipher which one is going to work. And I'm still waiting on our original software provider get approved. So no, I have not yet.
So we will continue to have old business be,
Yeah.
has Jamie completed a 3-6 assignment?
All right,
Okay.
we'll put that on for next meeting.
Sure. Yeah, and I've learned the same. It's actually really interesting, like for the department to understand that appraisers are looking at this almost by like the software. So it's not by the form and then, use whatever you want, that it really is. Some software providers, they load things one way. Another software provider shows it as like TurboTax, where you don't see everything until you click through. So I don't know if that'll have an impact on the enforcement side when there's an error and you're like, what happened? And the appraiser's like, well, I used this software and I didn't see it. And you're like, okay, so what is that? Like, how's that? That doesn't matter. It's your responsibility. But it's just an interesting dynamic on that. It's so software. It is very software dependent.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, sorry. Question for the group on this one is, if the software all looks really different to input into the form, do the software companies put their name on the forms? Is like there a way to tell which software was used to complete which form? Because it'd be really interesting to sort of track that and see if there's differences.
So I can look. I can go look. We've processed 3-6 assignments. I would have to see what the final PDF like output, if it has, I assume it has a copyright disclaimer, like on a 1004 now, they even have that on there. So I expect you will be able to see, but Jamie, I don't know if you know the answer to that question.
I think you're right, because like even on the forms now, like there is a copyright thing on which form. Like I know our forms, it says like our software provider within the form. So I'm sure it does. I'm not positive though.
Yep.
But that's a good question.
Yeah. And I mean, you can already, I don't know if the department requests the XML file for an appraisal assignment when there is like a complaint to help. But if the department is looking at how to more effectively process the data in the report to evaluate risk or compliance or whatever it may be, that there's always going to be this kind of data file, which can be inputted into various software to evaluate, quality. And that's used by like lenders and AMCs and risk analysis. We don't use necessarily the PDF. We use all the raw data to run rules and other criteria. So something to consider. But yeah, there'll be one example of a lot of changes coming.
Have you, maybe another question for you, Jamie, or anyone, but maybe at the last meeting or the one before, there was talk of this change, causing a mass exodus of people from the industry. Do you feel like that's cooled down at all, or are you still hearing that out there, or if people started to come around as, education started coming out and it's the date's actually getting closer?
Yeah, I think there's a lot in the air and people don't really know. I do still hear of like people are just in an uproar, like we're not doing this, we're gonna leave, and they're probably the older people, or they just don't want to learn anything new and they're kind of got one foot out the door anyways. But at the same time, I'm also seeing like, oh, we gotta increase our fees tenfold because it's going to take so much more time. But then you also hear in the other ear, it's like, well, the first couple might take you a little bit more time, but it's supposed to actually be quicker from what I've heard. And again, I can't say for sure because I haven't completed one, but supposedly like you get the first few down and figure it out the software and work through a couple, and it's supposed to get easier and easier and ultimately take less time. So I don't know with the whole fee structure. I'm hearing some people want to increase, some people are going to stay the same. It's just kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, it's a lot of opinions out there yet.
Right, and opinions from people like myself who haven't completed one, so it's hard. It's kind of just hearsay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have any new. We have appraisers we're working with that are absolutely completing them. They're starting to learn the process. It's interesting dynamic because as Jamie mentioned, there's software providers then they're really aggressively marketing their software because they're ready. So they're trying to kind of attract market share almost. And pricing is all based on where we are in the market. So as you know, it's no surprise they're offering at a really good price right now to
Yeah.
attract folks to join their software, right? So,
Yeah.
so we haven't really heard definitive, we're not going to do this. We're out. We've kind of, as appraisers have been more interested, there's been attraction, and we're all kind of learning. I think by our next meeting, we're going to get a better feel for kind of where we're at for sure.
Yeah. And some of that would take time to show up in data too. If people really are like, I'm not going to do this. Well, one, they could do other type of work.
Exactly.
Or two, if they're going, I'm not going to renew my license. Well, that could take a year or two to show up in the data too.
Especially
if be immediate.
Especially if it's November. So these folks that may renew in January may say, I'm going to do it one more year to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then we won't really see the impact for 2 years from that date. So that's a good call. Yeah. Okay. And then Arrow. So Arrow's the appraiser advisory or Association of Appraiser Regulatory Officials. They met in the end of April. And a lot of discussion on 3.6, a lot of discussion on appraiser qualification changes. I don't know if I think acting interim executive director of the appraisal subcommittee, Frederick Griefer, attended. He hadn't been in the Arrow conference before, gave some comments, had a chance to connect with him. The appraisal subcommittee is actually hiring aggressively. They're hiring for like a finance manager, and I think they're adding a number of program managers to, resume kind of their active cycle of compliance reviews of states. I don't believe I heard of any kind of major findings or issues or trends regarding their reviews of state programs. Generally, things are pretty good. And related to that, there's federal housing legislation, and that includes actually changes to a number of changes to this industry, including, and that bill passed the House. It's now back with the Senate. So it's as close as it's ever been in today's world of actually passing. But a couple of things that it does is it gives the appraisal subcommittee a little more discretion on grant making, potentially making grants to like nonprofit organizations, not just states. Right now, it's very, very restrictive. It would permit licensed appraisers to be on the FHA panel, do FHA assignments. It gives appraisal subcommittee discretion to reduce the registry fee that AMCs pay per appraiser, which states they've just collected, but they never actually see that other than through a grant. It adds the VA, I believe, to the appraisal subcommittee. So it actually adds another seat to the subcommittee. And it may be one or two others. I just don't have the summary right at the top of my head. The other thing I take away from the appraisal subcommittee is they very much, again, emphasize the opportunity for states to apply for grants, which I believe Minnesota has actually been quite good at requesting grants on a consistent basis. It was shocking to hear states just totally be confused on how to get what is basically free money for them to use to go to Arrow. And they're like, and I know states have different parameters and requirements on the grant process, so it's not always a lack of knowledge. It's just the kind of bureaucratic red tape that just is difficult to unwind and figure out the right process. But so really glad to hear that Minnesota's taken advantage of that, and Minnesota should be trying to get as much of that grant money as possible. I don't think there's even a cap. So
Aaron, Hank, and I actually had a conversation about that very recently as well. So we
if we want to start, start really investing in this meeting on a quarterly basis and, having it a hot air balloon or whatever. There's probably some grant money to be obtained. But yeah, I'm very glad to hear that you met. Again, now that we have the process down, I know that the subcommittee has gone through some changes and now they are much more kind of open on the grant process and what's available for states to request. So any opportunity that we can apply for, we should absolutely take it. No questions asked.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're handing out resources, we'll be happy to put them to use.
Anything we can get. So,
Just maybe to bolt on to that, I was, Kelly Davids had sent out from the Appraisal Foundation sort of a June update and mentioned it's the 21st Century Road to Housing Act.
Yes, that's the one
that you referenced. Yep. And her note, reference, passed the House, it's to the Senate, and she says that the president has indicated he'll sign if it's passed by the Senate. So she said their foundation is engaging with federal regulators to identify ways to carry out the executive order in the event that it passes. So it sounds like, the foundation is, being engaged with, does this impact the industry?
Yeah, everyone is. It really is one of the biggest pieces of legislation that would impact the housing finance kind of market globally or nationally in the US. But it's, a political, it's always ends up being about politics.
Yeah.
Aaron, you're free to unmute, jump in with anything I might have missed from Arrow or throw in the chat. I know you were there, so I wanted to at least give you the opportunity to jump in if there's anything I missed that you thought would be helpful to share.
Thanks, Dave. I think you covered pretty much everything. I mean, there's discussion from the AQB about the white papers they've put out. There's discussion from the ASB about new or changing advisory opinions. They've got some other ones in the hopper that they're working through with their committee. So from that standpoint, I think those are the primary pieces that Minnesota appraisers need to be paying attention to.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other new business? All righty. Back to old business, which I think we've covered both, but we can certainly, discuss if any other questions. The VDAM we talked about, that's now in statute. Property data collection, we talked about that no legislation was proposed. And I'm not aware of any kind of state proposals that passed nationally or any other state, and there haven't been any kind of major policy changes from the GSEs, so not really much has changed there. We didn't have any other old business, so I'll just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, other matters and public comments. I guess just to make sure, were there any public comments? Anyone that wanted to say anything or provide any feedback? Floor is yours. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to future board meeting schedule and locations. Is the fall meeting the one where we aligned it with the DOT?
We had in the past.
Okay, and that I just want to make sure. Yeah, so I remember. Okay, at the time I got the timing right. So the question is, where do you want to meet next time? Do you want to keep meeting here? Do we want to go somewhere else? What's the group's pleasure?
I can weigh in on my opinion. I mean, I'm open. I think we've had recent discussion at these meetings that while getting out to those venues has been a good idea, we've had a couple of public members that have been at that conference. It's felt difficult to publicize enough and get probably enough people there to make it worth everyone traveling there. So, I think we sort of loosely agreed that this is the most convenient location to meet at. So I'm fine personally meeting here, unless there's a strong opinion by others to try and bolt onto that meeting again.
I'm going to skip over Sarah because I already know. Jamie, any thoughts on meeting locations? If you want to switch it up or keep it here?
Yeah, I'm good keeping it there. I remember when we were in Rochester last year, I mean, yeah, there was like one or two people that showed up was all, so I don't know that it's worth everyone driving an hour and get over there.
Okay.
But I'm open. If
Yeah.
people want to go, I'll go.
Yep. Okay, no, that's helpful. And I'm in the same page. The only caveat is I'm happy to reach out to other folks, in the appraiser industry, like Byron, ask, is there any meeting or conference in the fall where it may help to bolt on this meeting to kind of get some overflow participants or whatever. I'm happy
Yeah.
to throw that out there as an option. I don't recall there being many kind of in-state meetings. It's kind of more of the larger national
Yeah.
meetings in Vegas or whatever it may be, but happy to throw that out there as a possible
We've
option.
been part of the AI trends meeting, which is in the spring in the past. But I think the part of the challenge has been, there's no CE as part of this.
Right.
And so you kind of end up bolting onto the front end of the meeting, which, okay, like 7:30, 8 o'clock start. And if people are showing up for, CE for the day, they're probably not getting there, 2 hours early or an hour early for our meeting too. So it's just, I don't know, it's just been challenging.
Yeah, the other suggestion, I suppose, is if someone wants to propose CE, to do CE in St. Paul at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and then people are welcome to join if someone's really that interested in getting more participation.
Yeah.
At this meeting, there's probably a number of ways to consider, but that would require others to apply. So, all right. So
We should have Peter approve CE.
Yeah.
That would be happening.
Yeah.
Then we could get more
Yeah.
people.
Is there a loophole where this meeting can be CE? It's not. Yeah, it's 2 hours. Well, we need to meet for another hour.
Yeah.
We need to make it 2 hours,
Yeah.
not keep it at 2 hours. Okay, so yeah, let's just tentatively keep it here. I'll reach out to Byron and others and say, hey, is there any ideas on either locations, or is there something going on in the fall that we're not aware of? Otherwise, should we just then do the doodle poll, Nathan, and
Can you do that again?
see how it goes? We'll figure-
For the date, yeah. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what, some September timeframe-ish?
Yeah.
Probably fit.
Yeah, I think in the past that DOT meeting's always been kind of mid-September,
Yeah.
which is.
Okay, so we'll just keep the same time. We'll just figure out the right date that works for everyone. Okay, and then next up is the open board seat. How many applications do we have been?
It looks like we currently have one application.
All right.
We will look into see where that application is
Okay.
at.
Awesome.
And
It's more than we
everybody,
have.
Yeah, one's better than none.
cross your fingers.
Yeah, one's better than none. Good stuff.
So in the event that's the application looks good, I'll call it, because we're kind of off cycle, that doesn't prevent us from adding someone sort of mid-year, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. I think with that, we are done. So we'll just entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All right. Meeting is concluded. Thanks everyone for attending.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Tom asked what position is the board seat for?